was going to tell you a story. And so, about my ex-husband, who we have a fairly good relationship now. We had good times, we had bad times, right? Like any married couple. When we got married, we met at a bus company. We were driving school bus, and would I say it was love at first sight? No. We hung out, we went to lunch with other drivers. That was when, I think it was Shakey's, had like a lunch buffet, and we would go there, and then we just started dating. We ended up getting married in April. I don't even remember, 1988, I believe. And he decided, he was in the National Guard, but he decided he was going to go on to active duty. And the bus company, of course, offered to drive me down to Fort Stewart, Georgia, which is where we were going after the school season, because they didn't want to lose true drivers. But I wasn't just a driver, I also repaired all the seats on the bus. So it was tough on them, but I couldn't do that. So we left, drove. First stop we did was in Wisconsin Dells, which was kind of cool because I had never been there, I don't think, unless I was as a kid. And we went to a place called Robot World, which was kind of cool. They had all these little robots, and then we drove, I don't know where we ended up, Illinois, I think, and then we stayed in Kentucky overnight. I still have all the pictures from when we went to all these different places, and we took pictures of the signs of the states we were in, so it was kind of cool. We drove in my truck, which was not all that big, but we were lucky because he was going on active duty, so the military transported our furniture and that down there. So we just took clothes with us. And I will say the worst part of that trip was driving through Atlanta. So if you've ever driven through Atlanta, through the main thoroughfare, the traffic's just nuts. So if you've driven through LA, it's similar. I don't think it's quite as bad as LA, but it's almost there. We got to Fort Stewart, we checked at the hotel where we stayed for, I don't know, I think we were there a week. And he got into his unit, got what he needed to get done. We got a list of places that had availability for apartments and mobile homes and whatever else they offered down there. And we did end up getting a mobile home, which I think we only paid like $300 and some. It was pretty cheap, but we're talking the 1980s. We didn't pay any lot rent because the lot rent was included in that. So we moved in there, had our furniture brought there, and we were there probably, I don't know, 6 months maybe in that mobile home. Another gentleman, another soldier, and his wife lived in a home out in Gum Branch, which is a really cute little town, but everything is pretty much in town, so you'd have to still go into Hinesville. But we went and talked to the owner of the house because they finally got base housing. So we went out there and we ended up talking to him. He was a game warden. So he rented to us. It still wasn't very expensive, but we had a nice house with a yard that didn't have a bunch of fire ants. Alicia, Terry's daughter, had sat down in our yard in the mobile home park after she got out of the pool. She was only like 3 and didn't know. All of a sudden I heard her screaming, And I went out there, and she literally had fire ant bites all over her legs. So we got her, washed her, put her in the tub with some baking soda and all of that, trying to get the itching to stop. And so it was a good thing we moved, but I was also a member of the Wives Club. The first thing we had was, and I'm hoping Terry remembers this because it was pretty funny. So we had a Roaring 20s party. It was one of those where everybody was dressing as either a flapper or a gangster from the 20s. By the time we decided what we were doing, we actually found a place that had some costumes from the 20s. Terry and I ended up dressing in swimsuits from the 1920s, which, if you ever go back and look at pictures from the 1920s swimsuits, you'll get a kick. So we did that, and then, I don't know, it was maybe a year later, we had an award ceremony. So we had an award ceremony, and it was at the NCO Officers Club type, where they were connected but they weren't connected. And the office, because it was seafood night, we were allowed to actually go over to the officer side to get food. And while we were there, Terry's commander, I believe it was his commander, invited us to sit with them because they were kind of in the same, his wife was the president of the Wives Club and whatever. So we sat with them, and they talked Terry into trying oysters. True story, hilarious. He got an oyster. They told him how to put sauce on it and all that. So he did that. He went and stuck it in his mouth and bit down. At the same time that the commander's wife was telling him, don't bite down, just swallow. So he did. He got a mouthful of sand. It was hilarious. And it was just funny. It was just one of those things that you had to be there. But we ended up going, and then we had a day that we went to St. Augustine. He had never seen the ocean before. Apparently didn't know it was saltwater. Jumped in, got a mouthful of salt water, came up and said, what is this? Alicia and I laughed our butts off because he looked hilarious. We had difficult times, don't get me wrong. We didn't talk to each other for nearly 30 years. I shouldn't say that. We talked to each other once after my mom died in 95, but we didn't talk until we moved to Georgia, so it was like in the early 2000s. And then we didn't talk again until probably like a year and a half ago. We're not friends, and we're not enemies, but we do have each other's, we know from experience what each other goes through. And am I still friends with my exes? A lot of them I am, believe it or not. I have children that I want to be around and talk to. My exes and I are all friends, and not all of us, but the ones that I had good fun with and good times with, and that it was, tell me your story. Do you have a friendship or anything with an ex? Talk to you later.